Hello everyone, it's Bella Malloy here, host of Seek Travel Ride, and welcome to another midweek mini episode where I share what it's like for you, one of our listeners, during one day of your trip. This week I am sharing the story from Jack Owens. He's 20 years old from Philadelphia and he's currently on a 3,600 mile solo ride, and it's going to take him all the way from San Francisco to Ocean City, New Jersey. And he is fundraising for Ride Hard, Breathe Easy, which is a lung cancer charity. And this is a cause which is very close to Jack's heart, a tribute to his grandmother who unfortunately did pass away from lung cancer. And during every day of his ride, Jack is highlighting someone who has been impacted by lung cancer, whether it's someone who has passed away or is currently fighting the battle of lung cancer as well. Before we get into Jack's story, I wanted to share an update from our guest from last week, Samuel Thompson, who is just started his Tour de France Randonnée Challenge. At time of recording, Samuel has just broken through the 500 kilometre mark, having set off on Sunday the 15th of June, and he is just about to start the climbs in the Pyrenees. Very spicy roads come up ahead. The audio that I'm sharing was sent through to me from Samuel just at the end of his first day of riding. And what I love about this is that it really does bring front and mind the reality of what it is like to do these huge distances with a goal of having to do this day after day after day for what Samuel hopes will be 13 days. No one tells this story better than Samuel, so let's listen to the update.
A quick one, as I don't want to waste precious sleep time. I found a great spot. It's called Hotel Kyrios in Narbonne. And I know someone wasn't planning on getting a hotel, but I thought, thinking a long game, that I made such good time today that I think I made time for it. And even though I'm not, well, I may get deliberating how long to have, maybe 2.5 hours, 3 hours sleep. But I just thought getting a shower, sorting myself out, being good to myself, and I think that's going to set me up a lot better than messing around outside trying to find somewhere to sleep. It's taken me about half an hour to check in, have a shower, get everything done. Too bad. And yeah, I had a while where I didn't really eat much. I probably ate too much at Clermont Road, and then had a couple of hours, couldn't really eat anything. And then my appetite came back towards the end, so I've had a bit before getting in here, so hopefully it'll be good again in the morning. Yeah, some really good progress today, and I think I'll still open about how far I'll be able to get tomorrow, because I'll be hitting the start of the Pyrenees. Yeah, there's sort of 3 passes, and then I want to get at least to Saint-Giron, hopefully a bit further than that. But yeah, we'll see how it goes tomorrow, hopefully. There was only a couple of hours when it was really hot today, but it never got too bad, but it just gets difficult to eat and just chugging through warm water. And yeah, I think I'm going to maybe have to think about having a plan where I stop really early, like even like 5 o'clock every day, and work the early hours. So I'm getting the bulk of the riding in the cooler hours. Well, I say cooler hours, it's going to be 20 degrees overnight here, but there's a stonking wind coming from the sort of northwest here, and it's sort of just about helpful, and hopefully it'll quieten down a bit. But I think it may help a bit when I'm going south. I think it's sort of just around here, so it's not going to be an issue in the Pyrenees, but I'll shut up and get some sleep.
Well, there you go, listeners, the reality of setting off on a monumental ultra cycling challenge, and I could really feel the fatigue there in Samuel's voice. But what also struck me was the wisdom from day one as well. He is already looking at how he needs to change up his strategy, potentially stopping earlier in the day to ride during the cooler hours to avoid the worst of the heat. And he's already taking on board lessons from day one I'm hoping that I will be able to meet Samuel as he comes through my area here in the Pyrenees, pass him over some croissants and share some miles on the road as well. For those of you who are following this challenge along at home, I have provided a link in the show notes to the dotwatcher.cc Follow My Challenge tracking page, where you can see Sam's progress all along this 4,800 kilometre Tour de France randonneur journey. Good luck, Sam. Okay, listeners, it's time to tune in now to the story of Jack Owens and to find out all about his ride hard, breathe easy journey across the US. Take it away, Jack.
Hi, Bella. My name is Jack Owens. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I am biking across the country to raise money for lung cancer patients and their families. As far as motivations go for the ride, my grandma passed away from lung cancer in 2011, and my family was involved in the lung cancer fight ever since that moment. Looking back, we did a lot of charity walks and that sort of thing at first. Over the years, our involvement grew. It was led by my uncle Jack, who eventually in 2017 decided that he wanted to do something more, and that more became a cross-country bike ride. So in 2017, with a little biking experience, cycling experience, that's what he did. He rode from southeastern Pennsylvania all the way to San Francisco. During that part, there were a bunch of people that supported him along the ride. I was lucky enough to be one of them. In Utah, I spent a couple of days with my dad and my uncle Dan, driving a SAG vehicle for support and gear behind him, and really just doing what I could. I was in 7th grade at this point, but it just, doing what I could to help in this fight against lung cancer. Now, from that point on, he had started a new organization, which eventually became a nonprofit, and that was called Ride Hard, Breathe Easy. I became more and more involved with Ride Hard, Breathe Easy as the years went on. It was one of those things where I wanted to help, but with each new project I led, with each new piece of involvement I attained, I wanted to help even more. That was something that was really special to me, where the more that I helped, the more I wanted to help, if that makes sense. So fast forward to now, I've always wanted to do a cross-country bike ride just like my uncle did, to fight for lung cancer patients, because I know that it really matters to them. The money and awareness raised for lung cancer patients and their families, it makes a huge difference in their life. And I've had the privilege over the past couple of years working with Ride Hard Breathe Easy of seeing tangibly how this makes a difference in all these people's lives. I guess that pretty much sums up my motivations for the ride. And now, what it's generally been like, I can start with the preparation. I'm incredibly grateful to have so many different people that have supported me, whether it be with advice or riding with me, offering me training tips, this, that, and the other. I was not really a big cyclist at all when I started to do this. The people I talked to first were my parents and my uncle Jack when I wanted to make this into a reality. Like I said, this was something I always knew I wanted to do, but I always kind of assumed oh, I'll do it later in life. Yeah. And then one day kind of hit me, what am I waiting for? Soon I'm going to have a real life job. I'm not going to be in college anymore. I'm going to need an internship eventually. And, so many other thoughts swirled in my mind. What if I get hurt and I can't do this bike ride later in life? I thought about it, and the more and more I thought about it, I thought, I want to do this now. I want to do something that's going to make a real impact in people's lives now that I have the opportunity. Talked to my parents, talked to my Uncle Jack, and my mom she might have been the first one I talked to, and she was super supportive of it. When I finally convinced her to help me make this into a reality, the first thing she said to me was, well, we're going to have to get you a bike. And that pretty much sums up my cycling experience prior to that point. I've always been involved in a variety of athletics and that sort of thing. So I was in pretty good shape, but not cycling shape. So I'm really glad that a lot of people helped me prepare. I feel like over the past couple days, and I'm now 12 days into the journey, and I feel phenomenal. I feel like I'm in great shape. I've been averaging over 80 miles a day, and I've really been feeling really good thus far. I think in terms of impact about this trip, the thing that sticks out is a tribute process that we've been conducting, where every single day that I ride, we honor a lung cancer patient that has either passed away, continues to fight today, and anything in between. Just anybody whose life has been impacted by lung cancer. And in setting up that process, I met and continue to meet a lot of people who are just share extraordinary stories with me, and they're phenomenal people. Really, really inspiring, motivating people. And I cannot even put into words how much of a privilege it feels like to be able to ride for them in their honor, in their name, in their memory in some instances. And it really means a lot. Like I said, I came into this experience not being the biggest cyclist, not being in the best cycling shape, and I've worked my way. I've trained prepared to make sure I've gotten into better cycling shape, but there's certainly days and challenges where I struggle and it hurts and I don't want to keep going and that sort of thing. Thinking about the people who I'm riding for each and every day, it just makes me want to dig. It inspires me to dig deeper, to keep going, to center myself and just push forward. So I know that if they can do it, that I can too. And it has gotten me through each and every day thus far. And yeah, I really appreciate the impact that they've had in my lives, and I hope to be able to share that impact with others. Thinking back to a day, one that has been super impactful and memorable was day 3 of my ride. Started day 1 in San Francisco, went to Flockerville and Placerville over the next 2 days. That's where we ended. But day 3 was ending in Lake Tahoe. Now, over the first 3 days, I probably averaged about 85 miles. Or that was over the first 2 days, excuse me. On day 3, I was only set to about 60, 65, but it was close to 7,000 feet of climbing, which was obviously a lot. Climbing Lake Tahoe, there were some 20-mile climbs. I think that there were 2 separate 20-mile climbs. It was nothing that I had experienced before, just straight uphill. I had done most of my training out at school in Indiana, which is pretty flat. I hadn't done a lot of climbing. So Lake Tahoe was really a big test of that. I was basically just cycling straight up. I'm sure you know exactly how that feels in some instances. And it was a battle all day long. There were times when I had climbs of over an hour long, well over an hour long. I dropped down to my lowest gear and just pedaled. It felt like I was inching closer and closer to the top of the climb, and it would only be the first of 5 climbs that day. And I'm really glad that I had my mom and sister there to support me every 20 miles or so, filling up water bottles and other stuff like that, giving me everything and everything I needed to keep going. But there were times where it was just me, and I was out there all alone. And like I alluded to before, there's times when you don't think you have it. You don't think you have what it takes. You feel like you're not going to get to the top. And there were a couple times where I stopped, and I stopped on the side of the road with cars whizzing past me, and I wasn't really comfortable with that. I had a decent amount of cycling experience over the past couple months, but nothing like climbing Lake Tahoe on US Route 50. And like I said, there's times I stopped. I looked behind me and it's all downhill. I look at in front of me and all you can do is look up, and you look to the side and you've got some beautiful views of Lake Tahoe. But in that moment, you just kind of center yourself. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. Think about it. Take some deep breaths. Drink some water. Make sure you're ready to go. Get back on the bike and just dig deep and think about all of the people who have supported me to that point, all of the people who I fight for each and every day, and all of the people who I hope to make a difference in the lives of. And it was something that just throughout that day, it was just kept coming to my mind. It was really, really impactful in my mind, I would say. Made me feel like in that moment where it was a moment where I was kind of truly physically alone with not much around me, but mentally, spiritually, I had a lot of help with me. And it continues to inspire me each and every day of this trip. And I'm growing more confident in my cycling abilities. I feel I'm growing stronger. I'm getting faster, all those types of things. And none of it would be possible without the people who have supported me to this point. Eventually, as that day goes on, we get to the top of Lake Dial, and just seeing the beauty, absolute beauty of the lake and the mountains and the snow-capped mountains and all of that was something I had never experienced in my life. And it felt even more special considering that I worked my way to the top. I wasn't dropped up there out of a car, nothing like that. I started literally at sea level at the ocean days before. And as somebody who at the time wasn't a very strong cyclist, I clawed by tooth and nail my way up to the top. And again, even though I physically did it pretty much alone, it was far from a solo effort. And I think that's part of what makes cycling so special is that it's such an individual sport and activity, but it doesn't mean that the effort that you put in has to be individualized. There's certainly an element that only you can control in the sense that, unless you're riding like a tandem bike or something, but you feed off the energy of those people around you. And it's something really special. It's not necessarily unique to cycling, but I feel like cycling captures it very well. So yeah, that's all I have to share. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share my story. I really appreciate it, Bella. It means a lot. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you so much, Jack, for sharing your story. It's a really impactful journey that you are on there at the moment, and something that you said which really resonated with me was there on that tough day, climbing those steep roads that you certainly are not accustomed to. Just when everything got hard, just being able to focus inward and think of the motivations for this ride and just how you felt that the support that you've been given by so many and also the power of riding for a cause has kept those pedals turning when it probably could have been easier to just turn the bike around and roll down the mountain. Well done for taking this ride on and also for just not leaving this as something that was a goal in the distant future for yourself, to grab the challenge and say, now is the time to do this. Now is the best time to get out there for a bike adventure. And I am 100% certain, like many bike travelers I have featured so far on the show, that this ride will change and shape your future as well. Thank you for sharing your story. Now, listeners, last week on Instagram, I posed the question to our followers of who's tuning into the podcast to draw inspiration for your own bike adventure. And I was absolutely blown away via the responses, and I wanted to shout them out here. The first one is from Cherie.Simpson, and she said, "Yes, I definitely am. The only problem is now my bikepacking bucket list is enormous." Oh my goodness, Cherie, I understand that problem so much. I feel it so deeply. After every single podcast interview I conduct, the wanderlust hits my soul, and I absolutely just want to pack luggage on my bike and set off for my own adventure as well. The next response was from NP Wood_, and he tunes into the podcast. He says, "Yes, I listened to Rob McLennan's episode on West Africa. It gave me the confidence to give it a go, and it's been my favourite stretch so far." Wow. NP Wood_, you are on a monumental round the world journey at the moment, and it's a thrill to know that the podcast has been playing in your ears while you're out there riding these roads, and that you've also drawn advice from previous guests and taken it on board as you take those sections on yourself as well. The next one is from Basti.on_the_move, Laura Bastioli, who says, "I'm absolutely tuning in and I'm missing them so much now that I'm actually the one riding on the bike adventures." Oh, Basti.on_the_move, I have been absolutely living vicariously through your adventure. Listeners, Laura is currently riding through Central Australia. I've just watched her stories from the Mawson Trail, and she also got to do a little dance there with the peanut butter mud there, which it can be notorious for. I absolutely love that you tuned into the pod and now you're out there on your own adventure as well. Next I have Chris J. Venn, and you said, "Absolutely, it massively helped me get ready for cycling the Great Divide mountain bike route and inspired me." Well, I'm so stoked that you've tuned in and now you're doing the thing yourself. Great Divide mountain bike route. I've interviewed a few guests who've travelled this route and they absolutely love it. And obviously Tour Divide is on there at the moment as well. So there's some races coming down that route too. I've also then got Arian.92 who said, "Sure, knowing that other people make it gives me the courage to imitate them. I'm so stoked that you are finding the episodes and the stories from my guests as fuel and inspiration to be able to do the thing yourself. That is absolutely brilliant." B_on_bike said, "Yes, especially during my first trip. Find roots, inspiration and courage. I am struggling with the latter." Well, B_on_bike, I have met you and I wish I could inject more confidence in yourself because I know that you have travelled through some tough times. You've gone from Germany all the way to Australia, and then the next leg of your journey is about to begin in Indonesia, and you are doing the thing. So be proud of yourself and take courage from that. Next I have Kurt Werby, who simply says, "You know it. I sure do, Kurt, and we are tracking your adventure to come in Morocco in the High Atlas Mountains there. I cannot wait to see you take on Route of Caravans in October." I have Sue_Chapel, who simply says, "I've listened to every episode. You're a dead set super fan, Sue. It was so awesome to meet you a few months ago." And listeners, Sue has currently been on an awesome tour through Corsica. can I just say those mountain views looked absolutely dreamy. Then I have Touring Dragon, who said, yes, and I wrote some sections guests were talking about whilst in the actual sections. This is awesome, and you've sent me a brilliant photo of you there on the Salar de Uyuni with your little Touring Dragon bike mascot as well. Absolutely love it. Then I have When Travelling Becomes Home, who says, I'm setting off to Indonesia from the UK. I certainly tune into the podcast and I'm planning on raising money for remote communities. I absolutely love this response and I cannot wait to watch your journey and adventure unfold there. Riding with a purpose will definitely help you turn those pedals. I then have Cycle the Long Way Home, who says, I listened to hours of your podcast while planning our trip at home and now we are on it. Brilliant. It's turning that goal and thought and dream into action, doing the actual thing. I love knowing that you tuned into the pod and now you've made it happen. And then I have Becky on a bike who said, yes, it makes me realise how much of the world I haven't seen and want to get out there. And Becky sent me a photo of her in front of Hoosier Pass on the Continental Divide. And Becky, how awesome it is to see you out there adventuring. I love that you drew inspiration from the podcast. I then have Exploring by Bicycle, super fan, super podcast guest, Claire White, who said yes. And it's even cooler meeting some of the guests on the road after listening to their episodes. And Claire sent me through a photo of Rebecca Gross and her partner Harvey, who she met while they were going through, I think it was Turkey at the time. And something that's really awesome for me is I'm about to host Claire as she comes through my area of France in about a week's time. And I cannot wait to meet you in person and listen to more stories from your incredible journey. Claire's almost wrapping up her huge tour from Mongolia, riding all the way back home to the UK. There you go, listeners. Just a few of you who've sent me their response. And if you too have been tuning into the pod as fuel for your own adventures, please get in touch with me. Send me a DM on Instagram. My handle there is @SeekTravelRide, and let me know all about your adventure. Now I'm coming up to the part of the show which I absolutely love, which is shouting out you, my legends who've bought me a coffee and are supporting the show. This week, I have more anonymous donations. That's right. There's more people who just come up as someone who contribute to the podcast and just want to stay anonymous. So to all of you, I just want to say a big wholesome thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for taking inspiration from the show and going that extra step and actually buying me some coffees and supporting me as well. It makes a real monumental difference to me, an independent podcaster, to be able to keep putting out these episodes to you each and every week. And listeners, if you want to do the same as all those anonymous people and buy me some coffees, you can go to my Buy Me a Coffee page. That's at buymeacoffee.com/seektravelride. Buy me a coffee, please leave me your name and share a message. Let me know what is it that you love about the pod and where your bike adventure is taking you. And until the next episode, I'm Bella Malloy. Thanks for listening.